Day 2 of Monica's bad court thingy. On day 2, Monica continues her evidence in chief. She's taken on the feedback from yesterday and remembered that when she's in the witness box, she's a witness and must confine what she says to how she feels and her direct experiences. As a self-represented litigant, she is wearing 2 hats, witness and advocate, but she can only wear 1 hat at a time. She can't make submissions when she's wearing her witness hat. She will get the opportunity to make submissions at the conclusion of everyone's evidence. Monica has prepared a list of questions to ask herself, which stops her from accidentally making submissions, mostly.
Your Honor told me to say how I feel, and I think I've done a better job this time,
She says at the conclusion of her evidence. I agree. I chuckled at this interaction where Monica accidentally made a legal submission and then attempted to correct herself.
Your Honor, the actions of the police were not based on a reasonable belief that I'd committed an offence.
Ms. Smit, now is not the time to say that.
Okay, as a witness, it's my opinion that the actions of police were not based on a reasonable belief.
Monica tendered more police body cam footage, this time of the 3rd arrest. Prior to showing the video, Monica told the court what happened in her own words, describing what she'd said to the police at the time and how they responded. She said when we see the footage, it will be clear to us how upset she was after being arrested, except the footage didn't quite match Monica's version of events. In fact, the footage Monica tendered showed Monica brushing off the arrest, almost as though she was proud. In fairness, she may have been putting on a brave face. After realizing the footage she'd tendered didn't align with the evidence she'd given, she asked for a short adjournment to tender different video footage. This time, the video she'd made herself and live-streamed on Facebook at the time. This footage didn't really align to her version of events either. It was like she had this image in her head of what she thought happened, but that image didn't match reality. Monica said she felt persecuted for her beliefs.
Mainstream media were treated like royalty, and I was treated like a criminal. How did the arrests affect you?
Monica asked herself. Monica said the arrests affected her greatly and completely changed her perception of police. After the incident in question,
I was scared all the time.
to illustrate just how scared she was, she gave evidence that one day she went for a walk and saw a group of policemen in the distance. She was so scared,
I weed my pants.
literally,
I pissed myself involuntarily. I don't know what's that worth in damages.
she said. She described being so worried about what police might do, she spent tens of thousands of dollars on security cameras.
To protect myself,
Monica said she eventually fled Victoria as she didn't feel safe, but clarified she does now. Interestingly, yesterday she said the incident didn't have much of an effect on her. She said the only damage she suffered was that she felt embarrassed. Her issue was that she had cried and no one seemed to care. Monica also gave evidence that being arrested 3 times in one day affected her professional reputation. Prior to being arrested, she had interviewed MPs who,
no, were all happy to be interviewed and seen with me in public.
Monica said that after the arrests, no MPs wanted to be seen with her because she was
The girl who was arrested 3 times.
She must have forgotten that the UAP asked her to run as a senator in the 2022 federal election. Up her evidence, Monica said this all could have been avoided if the police
Had just asked me to leave nicely. If police had just said to me, we know you're a journalist and we know you're dating the organizer, so how about you stand over there with the other MSM journalists, I would have done so. The most distressing thing was being ignored.
And that concludes Monica's evidence in chief. And now, the cross-examination of Monica. At about 12:05 p.m., counsel for the state of Victoria commenced her cross-examination of Monica Smit. It was pretty brutal. As a witness, Monica came across as argumentative, combative, difficult, and paranoid. I don't think Monica was prepared for how brutal the cross-examination would be. The question of, what is a journalist? You'll recall that Monica claims her arrests were unlawful because she was at the protest as a journalist, so therefore not in breach of COVID restrictions. Counsel for State of Victoria sought to challenge Monica on her definition of journalist.
Do you agree there's a difference between a journalist and an influencer?
Not all the time. You can be a journalistic influencer, a makeup influencer.
You wouldn't call the makeup influencer a journalist, would you?
If the person is asking different people about their opinion about a makeup product or heading out on the street, reporting on other people's opinions of makeup is journalism.
In an attempt to get Monica to admit that one can be both a journalist and a protester, counsel put to Monica,
You accept that you're not a journalist 24/7, for example, when brushing your teeth.
Monica retorted.
You're not a lawyer 24/7.
She then added,
I am a journalist all the time. If I'm at a beach and police jump on someone, I'll take out my camera and start journaling.
Monica was also asked about the difference between a journalist and an activist.
If you're the organizer of an event, then you can't be a journalist.
Monica refused to answer, saying,
I feel like I'm getting asked questions that aren't about the day I was arrested to address things that happened on the day of the arrest.
It became clear early on that Monica wasn't prepared to make any concessions if she thought doing so would disadvantage her case. She later admitted this, telling the state of Victoria's barrister,
I am not trying to be difficult. I think you're trying to trick me, so I am trying to avoid tripping myself up.
In her role as advocate, Monica also objected to the questions that were being put to her.
Objection. I would prefer if I was asked direct questions about the day. I feel like you are trying to trap me by asking me questions about hypothetical examples.
Monica's medical exemption. Monica says that one of the reasons she was arrested was for failing to wear a face mask, but she said she had a valid medical exemption. Counsel for the state of Victoria challenged Monica on this. Tendered into evidence was a document titled Patient Declaration, which said,
Monica Smit states that she is suffering from asthma, difficulty breathing while wearing face mask, and also gets anxiety while wearing a mask.
Counsel for the state of Victoria put to Monica that she didn't have a valid excuse for not wearing a face mask.
The patient declaration, a summary of what you said to the doctor, it's not a diagnosis. It's not a statement from the doctor that you have those conditions. It's just you saying you think you have these conditions.
But the doctor signed it.
You understand the distinction between a statement that says, this is what the patient told me, versus this is what I've diagnosed the patient.
But he signed it.
Your doctor told you that you don't have basis for a medical exemption.
Yeah, okay, he told me that, but then he wrote a letter and signed it for me.
Counsel then made the point that there were hours of video footage from the day of Monica's arrest. Not once in the video footage did we see Monica experiencing any signs of asthma, no signs of breathlessness. That didn't go down well. Next topic, Monica's opposition to COVID lockdowns, face masks, and the government response. Counsel for the state of Victoria put to Monica that prior to the day of arrest, she'd made it known that she or RDA was ideologically opposed to COVID lockdowns, masks, mask mandates, and that these were issues she felt strongly about, or words to that effect. This was relevant to Monica's real reasons for attending the protest on 31st October, the day she was arrested. Counsel showed Monica a Facebook post from the Reignite Democracy Facebook page, dated 29th October 2020, just 2 days before the date of the protest at which Monica was arrested. The Facebook post from RDA said,
These are the issues RDA will be addressing over the next week or so.
There were 6 issues listed. Issue number 2 was face masks.
Masks are pointless and should not be mandatory.
Monica had earlier given evidence that she had a valid face mask exemption. Counsel put to Monica that these were the policy of RDA at the time, the issues that RDA was going to be addressing. To say Monica became defensive in response to this line of questioning would be an understatement.
In the Facebook post, you state that issue number 2 is,
Don't get tested. The PCR tests come from a corrupt, human-violating communist Chinese company. They are fraudulent. Well, that wasn't our policy. Don't Get Tested is the name of a documentary.
in the documentary, does it also say the PCR tests come from a corrupt, human-violating communist Chinese company? They are fraudulent.
Yes?
She refused to admit that the 6 issues listed in the Facebook post were issues RDA advocated for.
These are just issues RDA was going to address. Doesn't say we were going to be protesting against these.
Counsel, very much exasperated with Monica.
I don't know why you're disagreeing with me that these are the list of issues RDA was advocating for.
Monica clearly felt that counsel for State of Victoria was trying to trip her up.
So these were issues that were important to me as part of my reporting, as part of my journalism. Objection.
Monica, in her capacity as advocate, eventually objected to the questions being put to her about the RDA Facebook post.
Objection, Your Honor. Irrelevant.
When asked to explain the basis for her objection, Monica said,
My views about face mask mandates are not relevant to whether or not the arresting officers had a reasonable belief that I was committing an offence. Further, there's no evidence that the arresting officers had even seen this Facebook post. So how can you say it is evidence of what they believed about me?
This was a pretty good argument. Justice Tran nevertheless found that the Facebook post was relevant and allowed it to be tendered as evidence. However, she said Monica's argument went to how much weight, importance, she should give the evidence, and told Monica she should raise this again in her closing submissions. Monica's fraudulent work permits. The cross-examination really took a turn when counsel for the State of Victoria started asking questions about Monica's work permits and the work permits she'd issued for her parents. As a reminder, Monica said that she had a valid reason to be at the protest because she was working as a journalist and had work permits to support this. She'd also issued work permits to her parents, whom she claimed were working for RDA. Counsel put to Monica that she'd issued various work permits for herself and her parents, all with false information. She issued herself a work permit before the date of the protest, and the address listed as her home address was not her home address. 11 days later, she issued herself a work permit with a different address as her home address, which was not her home address, contrary to what she said on the work permit. When asked why she listed an address that wasn't her home address as required, Monica said,
Well, I was still getting mail there. I had also been subject to harassment from people, so didn't want to put my real address on the document.
In October 2020, you'd been harassed at your home address.
Okay, not at that point, but I guess I was worried I might be in the future.
Monica also sought to blame her lawyers for the wrong work permits.
The reason I am representing myself is because of the absolute mess. I don't want to put people under the bus, but this document was wrongfully submitted. When I was preparing for my case because my lawyers made a mess of it, I realized it was the wrong one and I went and fixed it. It was a mistake, not a lie.
Counsel then brought up Monica's book, Cell 22. In her book, Monica included a link to a website which included a copy of the work permit that Monica claimed she'd produced to police the day she was arrested, 31st October. Except the work permit was dated 3rd of November.
Ms. Smit, this work permit is dated 3rd of November, but you said in your book this was the permit you were carrying on 31 October.
Objection, Your Honor. I feel like she's making me out to be a liar, and that's not relevant to the issues in the proceedings.
Monica doesn't realize that the other side can lead evidence to attack her credibility. Monica then sought to argue that the evidence of false work permits was more prejudicial than probative and should be excluded. She quoted Section 137 of the Evidence Act, which says that the court must refuse to admit evidence if its probative value is outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice to the accused. Monica said that the evidence was prejudicial because it was.
Defaming my character.
She gave it a good shot. But Section 137 of the Evidence Act only applies to criminal prosecutions, not civil proceedings. Counsel then asked Monica about the work permits she'd issued her parents on the day of her arrest. Monica had previously said that her dad was working for Reignite Democracy as media support, carrying her backpack because as a journalist, she can't wear a backpack when conducting interviews.
Okay, so what about your mum?
She was supporting me as well.
In what way was she supporting you? You've already explained your dad was carrying your bags. What was your mum doing?
She might have been doing the same.
In the video footage from the day of the arrest, she was carrying a large Eureka flag. Your dad was carrying part of the protest banner.
I didn't direct them to do that.
Monica's cross-examination continues tomorrow.